Call the honourable member for Bradfield and the Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Well, the proposition before the House this afternoon is that apparently there's an unfair budget which is damaging Australia's economy. That's the proposition which has been put. Let's remember, Mr Deputy Speaker, that what damaged the economy of Australia was 6 years of chaotic and incompetent management. Who can forget the rank incompetence of a Treasurer who stood up in May 2012 and said, "The 4 years of surpluses I announced tonight are a powerful endorsement of the strength of our economy"? Well, what about the ignominious failure to deliver, Mr Deputy Speaker? What was that a powerful indicator of? What that was a powerful indicator of was that panicky and inexperienced hands were at the economic wheel. This was a man who promised a surplus for 2012-13. He actually delivered an $18 billion deficit, following deficits in the previous 4 years of $27 billion, $54 billion, $47 billion and $43 billion, and yet he expected the Australian people to believe that he would deliver a dramatic turnaround in 1 year, an indicator of rank incompetence, rank inexperience. But what he did do was leave this country on a trajectory heading towards a massive government debt, had corrective action not been taken, of $667 billion by 2024, according to his own documents. And who can forget some of the high points of the damage to Australia's economy that was done by the chaotic incompetence of the previous government? Who can forget the blowout of $11 billion in border protection costs? Who can forget the blowout of some $6 to $8 billion in the cost of school halls? Who can forget the Pink Bats program, which cost $2.8 billion and 4 lives? Or the $900 stimulus cheques sent to 27,000 Australians overseas, 21,000 dead people. We ask, who can forget that, Mr Deputy Speaker? I'll tell you who can forget that. It's the people on the other side of the chamber who are forgetting that. They've willfully blinded their minds. They've closed their ears to the historic record. But the accuracy of the historical record is there, Mr Deputy Speaker. And the Labor Party has the temerity to talk about an unfair budget. What could be more unfair than the generational inequity of loading a huge debt burden on successive generations because you are too weak and too incompetent to take the necessary decisions? By contrast, Mr Deputy Speaker, what is boosting the economy is a well-structured budget as part of an integrated economic strategy to back the private sector and to build prosperity. Let's look at some of the indicators. The ABS data released on the 6th of November this year. Jobs growth, 12,300 per month this year, more than double the 2013 average. The ANZ Consumer Confidence Survey, released on the 25th, which is at 114.3, above the long-run average since 1990. The NAB Monthly Business Survey for October, which showed the confidence was up by 12 points, the biggest monthly gain since 1998. Those are the facts, Mr Deputy Speaker, about how the economy is performing, and it's doing that because what this government is doing is establishing the conditions for the private sector to prosper. If there's one thing that the Rudd-Gillard-Rudd government never understood, it was that prosperity, the prosperity which generates the tax revenue on which all the incidents of a civilised society depend, health, education, aged care, that depends on the private sector. The Rudd-Gillard-Rudd government seemed to think that you could solve everything by pumping taxpayers' money into government-owned ventures, $43 billion into the National Broadband Network Company, $10 billion into the Clean Energy Finance Corporation, and what are we left with? A series of deficits and a huge debt which we are now steadily and credibly working to turn around. A steady and credible plan to reduce the budget deficit over 4 years. We are steadily doing, Mr Deputy Speaker, what we said we would do. We have removed the carbon tax and the mining tax as we said we would, and we are putting in place the stimulus to get the private sector working and capturing business opportunities through the enormously important free trade agreements in Korea, Japan and China. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, we're doing what we said we would do to stimulate the private sector. That's the way to generate prosperity, boost the economy and create more jobs. And what could be fairer than that?